So, bit of a background, ladies and gents. The People's Joker was a movie that was going to be at Toronto International Film Festival last year. It's a story about a trans Joker questioning. It's a gender bending Joker, right? Questioning their gender identity in a Gotham City, in a world where comedy is outlawed, and the Batman is the one that fights comedy and outlaws comedy, and it's about that. And so it was going to be at TIFF. I think it was. I think they did show it somewhere as well. But Warner Brothers stepped in and was like, "You've literally just ripped off our characters. This is not really a parody now. Fuck off." Somehow it's coming back. Now there is some comedy in this for a few reasons. Because one, it's been acquired by an indie distributor called Altered Innocence. Now I would say that's an incredibly nefarious I mean, it's hiding in plain sight. Altered Innocence is quite literally what these individuals want to do to your children. So I'm just going to say that from the off. So that's quite gross. And this is the personification of what we all hate recently, is these individuals take your characters that you like, rewrite them as just a vehicle for their own trauma. Basically, their own trauma and their own issues. It quite literally says here, so co-written by Vera Drew and Brie LaRose, the film reimagines the origin story of iconic Batman villain the Joker, sees Drew's painfully unfunny, aspiring clown grapple with her gender identity whilst unsuccessfully attempting to join the ranks of Gotham City's sole comedy program. In a world where comedy has been outlawed, uniting with a ragtag team of rejects and misfits, Joker Harley Quinn forms an illegal anti-comedy troupe that puts her on a collision course with the devious Cape Crusader controlling the city. Well, one, these left-wing lunatics quite literally want to control your speech and make sure you can't joke about everything you want to joke about. No, we want to control your speech. You can only joke about certain things. So, one, Altered Innocence, that's gross. The people that bought this, that's nefarious. Two, I mean, this is like a slap in the face. We're going to make a riff on your property that you love so much, you know, DC, Batman, Joker, and we're also going to flip it. So actually, it's you that are controlling. You know, Batman's a fascist. He's controlling comedy, not us, not the left-wing lunatics that control speech and want to make you say certain things. You know, and that it's insane. So there are a few things to kind of go into just before we kind of get here, right? So loads of people cameoing in it, people I've never heard of, except for Bob Odenkirk. He should never have been in this, idiot. And there's a statement from Altered Innocence, and they say Vera Drew has taken her own life experiences and traumas to craft an entirely new genre of cinema. Yeah, funny dog shit.
Yeah.
That blurs the lines between documentary, coming-of-age film, and parody. No, just dog shit. We couldn't be more thrilled to champion this bold, intelligent, and hilarious piece of queer cinema that audiences around the globe have fallen in love with. I said in my video, and I stand by this, no one's falling in love with it because they're not people. They don't have personalities. They're just bare shells that parrot the same garbage. No actual person has fallen in love with it. Drew said she's absolutely thrilled. This movie started as a DIY community project for queer artists, and I made it with my friends to process. It's literally she made it to process what it was like coming out as a trans woman. Could it be any more? This is stop using properties as a vehicle for your fucking trauma, right? I don't want to pay to watch you go through a therapy session. Fucking pay a therapist to deal with your trauma, right? Same as a comic. I don't want to read a comic that has become a vehicle for you to deal with your trauma. I'm so fucking sick of paying people to read or watch their trauma. It's such wank. Oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I agree. It's kind of moved away from.
Chime in.
I was just going to say it's kind of moved away from, you know, the classic comic book stories of the good guy versus the bad guy, and the fighting, good versus evil, all that sort of stuff, and a interesting story with other characters getting involved and different superpowers and all that, to real life, therapy sessions with people with mental issues. Like, how is that a fun thing to watch or read? I don't get it. But this is the world we live in today. Culture.
I was never interested in this film to begin with. I thought it was kind of a laughing stock. I figured it would never make it to the cinemas because of everything that it touched on, and the fact that there really wouldn't have been any broad support for it. So the fact that somebody decided to go out there and acquire it and then try to release it in theaters, that's kind of the other joke here, because they've played or clowned themselves, and I think that'll ultimately show up at the end of the day. It's also going to not represent the broad, diverse community that they're trying to in a way that's positive. So I think it's also detrimental on both sides of the equation.
The writer, the star, the person that's injecting her own trauma into this garbage, says, "It's been a long road freeing the People's Joker and finding a release plan that rings true to the queer anarchist spirit we had while making it. What better home than among Altered Innocence's catalogue of gorgeously gay and deliciously edgy films?"
Ugh.
Fuck off and die. Honestly, this stuff is just degenerate crap. And again, need I point out the fact that Altered Innocence, disgusting name, truly subversive, I think. It's hiding in plain sight. And two, Vera, you are the type that would say, no, you can't joke about trans people, all right? You're the type that would say, no, you can't joke about women. No, you can't joke about this. No, you can't make jokes about black people, or you can't make jokes about babies or anything. And you've made a film talking about people policing comedy. You are the biggest, most raging hypocrite I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Why Warner Brothers isn't clamping back down on this, I have no idea. Because they
tried, like, didn't they?
And they succeeded. They succeeded. It got pulled from TIFF. I don't understand what's happened.
I don't know if they can really do much about it because it's parody. That's the fucking problem.
I don't think it is. I think it's literally like, I think they are ripping off. I don't know. I don't know.
The only thing I can't understand is how they got away with the title. Other than, I guess, unless they couldn't,
not parody.
Unless
they're
they couldn't
using Batman.
Well, I mean, the story itself is clearly a parody of the Joker, right? Now, my big question is, how are they getting away with using the title with the Joker in it, unless Warner Brothers couldn't copyright Joker because it's such a mundane word in the daily lexicon? But now using the term Batman, that I could. Yeah, this is where I don't understand. And at this point, if they're able to release it, that means both lawyers have gone through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and Warner Brothers must have figured there was nothing they could do about it. That's what I see here. Because at this point, because this has been how many months since this originally came out? Almost a year?
Last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like a while back when we first heard about this, and it was supposed to be dropping or whatever. But then, yeah, as far as I know, Warner had tried stopping it. And maybe their lawyers have been working something out behind the scenes all this time. Who knows? But the fact that they were able to drop it like this, or going to drop it like this, tells me they probably worked it all out.
Hate it.
I think it's stupid. I think it's pathetic. I mean, if you're going to do something original.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I'm not a fan of fan films. Sorry for those who are. But to me, I feel like it's great. You just wasted a bunch of money so you'll never work in Hollywood. Because here's the thing, either you're not nearly as good as you think you are, or you're better than them, so they're never going to hire you because you've embarrassed them, especially if you're doing something that's one of their own properties. The first thing they're going to do is blackball your ass.
Well, to push back on that a little bit, Tom, just a tad, Shamook, who did the, which is not really a fan film, but the edits, on the deep fake stuff, and then turned around and got hired by,
and then he got shit canned.
Yeah, no, he quit and went and got another offer from another company and left ILM and
I think that was
else.
all a big fucking publicity stunt, to be honest with you, Nick.
It might be. We've
but
had
that is the exception. Lucas is somebody who always has embraced the fan film
Yeah.
community, but nobody else really has.
Yeah, we talked to him several times and been trying to set up to get him to come on the show to talk about his experience in that whole ordeal. But it's supposedly it's going to happen sometime after the first of the year. But I'd be curious to pick his brain on what it was like working over there at modern day Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm.
Well, I haven't heard from you, Andre, on this. Or is he dead again?
Well, I haven't really. I don't really have much to add. Like you've said it all already. It's a project. I wish Warner luck in stopping it. I think it's incredibly subversive, harmful for society. No good can come of it. I think that these people there, I wish them well, and I wish them many a therapy session.
Too kind. Zodlander chimes in, says the real horror behind the Joker character is that no one knows who he is or where he came from. When Hollywood tries to define the Joker, it takes the power of the Joker's horrifying nature. Why do this? Well, because subversion, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole generation who doesn't understand the Joker. Let's be real here. There's a whole group of people that put the Joker up on some kind of pedestal. Like, look, I get it to think he's cool and like to have him be a character or whatever that you like to read about or see in movies and stuff, but to try and emulate him and all these women who are like, I want a relationship like Joker and Harley. It's like, no, you don't. It's like, do you really see what that relationship is like? This is like a modern issue too. And this is kind of where I didn't hate the Joker movie, but I kind of thought it was setting a bad precedent. And what I mean by that is this is kind of more of the same crap of a problem we've had with a lot of our films, especially superhero movies, where these writers nowadays don't understand heroes, but they sure do understand villains.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is they have fundamentally misunderstood the whole idea of what it means to be a hero, where you have something tragic happening to you, but you rise above it and try to do the best you can to make sure that never happens to anybody else again. A villain, on the other hand, is somebody who has something happen to them and they act out upon society and try to, take revenge. Right. And these people emulate these kind of people. Like that's what their daily lives are. And to see something like this, I get it. It's probably just a joke. It's just a parody, but I see where you're coming from, Nate, as far as it encroaching a bit too much. As a creator, if I was creating something and somebody did something like this similar to my creation, I would probably get upset. But the problem you have here is the Joker's already a ripoff of Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy.
And also, even in the comics, the Joker is a ripoff of I forget his name. Basically, from the man who couldn't stop laughing,
can't stop laughing, or whatever.
Yeah, the movie from the 1930s. If you look at the poster of that movie, you see instantly where the Joker is ripped off from.
Well, the visual style definitely was.
Yeah. The man who laughs, Invictus Antithethis, says in the comments. Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, that's kind of like their issue, because so many things are rip-offs from other things, and sometimes the rip-off becomes a new original, which is better than what inspired it in the first place. But this ain't one of those cases.
Oh God, no.
Well, and you know what you're not hearing tied to this particular, perverted tale of the Joker. You're not hearing the same kind of rhetoric around, well, now there's going to be mass shootings at theaters.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to watch this thing.
But you understand, at any other time, we've heard since all the way back in 2012 with when the Joker appeared in the second Batman movie, the Nolan Batman film, that, this would inspire school shootings. And then we heard the same thing around, Arthur Fleck's Joker that Joaquin Phoenix played. We're not hearing that this time, are we?
Andre, I'm guessing this is who you're referring to. Conrad.
That's the one. Conrad White's character. When you
Victor
look at
Hugo's
that,
The Man Who
it's
Laughs.
very, very obvious that this is the inspiration for the Joker, isn't it?
Yeah.
But of course,
Yeah.
that's only his appearance, like his personality.
Yeah, because the character
nothing
himself
like
is
the
actually a
Joker.
very tragic character. Yeah.
Very tragic character, and
Mhm.
he's not evil. He's not a psycho. He's basically just mutilated.
Suffers from the condition of not being able to do anything but smile. Yeah.
Yeah, the condition that came about by his lips being cut away.
Got a super chat here from WCW2793 for $10. Says REH's point. The only time where someone was able to take their trauma and turn it into something good was J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, but that's because they had actual trauma from fighting in World
A
War
lot
I.
of people can take trauma and turn it into good. It's just these modern storytellers don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Well, their trauma isn't trauma for starters.
That's the other problem. Yeah.
And also they're not actually they're not using their trauma for an inspiration for a narrative. What they're doing is literally going, I'm just going to put myself into a character's shoes, and what I've had happen to me, have that character do the same thing. I'm going to be the character's going to be me, rather than saying, there's no change, there's no inspiration, there's no philosophical
there's no growth, there's
mutations of the trauma there. It's literally what they perceive as trauma just being word for word the same bloody thing in a movie.
They don't
just fucking creative bankruptcy.
But they have no life experience to compare it to. Again, none of these people have ever done anything or had anything significant happen in their life outside of going to school and finding some gender studies class. So, I mean, that's about it. That's not an intriguing story. There's no arc to that character.
No, there isn't. Well, they don't have any arcs. Their life is bland, boring NPC level shit. So, absolute garbage.